Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. Today we're going to do an unboxing and a review of the H440 from NZXT. Alright, so let's get to it. So here's a look at the outside of the box. Okay, so as you can see, the H440 is a mid-tower case. You've got your shroud on the bottom, and there is no room for an optical drive in this case. So the dimensions of this case are 220 millimeters wide, 513 millimeters high, and 480 millimeters deep. Okay, it's made out of steel, plastic, metal plated front panel. Okay, the total weight is 10.16 kilograms. Supports a motherboard of mini ITX, micro ATX, and ATX. Comes with a 1x audio or mic, 2x USB 2.0s, and 2 USB 3.0s. Because it was important to me to have 4 USB on the case itself, even though I do use a hub as well. The expansion on the inside of this thing, you can do 11 3.5-inch drives, 8 2.5-inch drives, and it has PCI expansion slots up to 7. So it's a big case, even though it's a mid-tower. Okay, so let's get this out of the case. Okay, so as we look at the front of this case, it's just a nice flat black color. So to open the front of this case, you can either pull on the bottom or pull on the top. You just simply pull. Okay, comes off, simple, and this is solid. You've got your silencing foam inside. You got these here, just pop it on. Very nice, very solid. You got your airflow on the side here. Okay, so inside you've got your filter, okay, to keep everything nice and clean. It's magnetic, just simply pops off here and lifts up. There's a nice little groove in the bottom here. So when you put it back on, you just pop it back in there, and away you go. Put your front panel back on, and you're done. So again, we're going to take that off. Let's just set that aside. You got your 3 120 millimeter fans, come with the case, or you can put 2 140 millimeter fans. Okay, moving on to the side, you just unscrew this, unscrew the bottom one. Once you've got that loosened off, you can just pull it. And again, very, very solid. I left the plastic on here just so when I'm doing my build, I'm not going to scratch it or do anything to it. On the inside, same thing. Okay, so in this case, you've got your NZXT branding, which does light up, okay, so that illuminates to give you a better look. So your power supply is all encased in here. You got your 2 SSDs, and you've got spots in here, okay, if you can see that in here, that your cable management can come right up through and go in here. Now you have your hard drive bays in here. It comes with a 140 millimeter fan in the back for rear exhaust. Again, you have more openings here for airflow, and you have some more on the back here. Okay, so as you can see in here, you've got a huge opening for the back of your motherboard, and you've got lots of openings on the sides and rubber over your openings here, so you can do all your cable management. And lots of tie-offs on the back. We'll show you that afterward. Here you've got all your thumb screws. Okay, so they just unscrew here. Lots of room for multiple graphics cards if that's what you're going for. Again, you have more venting on the openings here, and you've got your water cooling openings here as well. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned in here is if you take out the hard drives, you can fit a 406.2 millimeter GPU graphics card in here. Now with the hard drives in place, it'll accommodate up to a 294 millimeter. So basically without the hard drives, which are very easy to come out one at a time, I don't think there's any graphics card made today so far that won't fit in this case. Okay, and keeping with moving on to the back of the case, one of the things you'll notice down here after we get all the screws out is your power supply. When you put it in, this removes. Okay, so you put your power supply on here first. So a recommendation I would have is put your power supply on, put your cables that you're going to need, if it's modular. If not, then just feed all your cables through before you put that back in. Because once you decide later that you need your cables to move them around or whatever, that's going to be a bit of a pain. Okay, so that's usually you take off and then you put it back on, screw them all back in, and you're done. Okay, so once you got that back on, you can notice you got 2 more water cooling spots here. So if you're going to do water cooling, there's ample opportunity to do that in this case. So one thing I also want to point out that this case has, which is unique for cases I've seen, is right here you've got an LED light. So you push that button, turn it on, push it to turn it off, and that will illuminate your I/O shield in the back. Liquid cooling support supports 240 millimeter, 280 millimeter, and 360 millimeter radiator in the front and on the top. And of course, it comes with 4 of NZXT's newly designed FNV2 case fans, 3 of them on the front, which is the 120 millimeter fans in the front that I showed you, and the 140 millimeter in the rear. Now, they advertise this as effortless cable management. I'm going to tend to disagree with that a little bit. Because you've got the foam insulation to keep everything quiet, you're a little restricted on your space in the back, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, the other thing to point out one more time is, as I said on the back, you've got more areas for air cooling. Now, in my case, I'm not sure if I'm doing air cooling, because one of my previous videos I did water cooling, and I was amazed at how easy that is to do. So I'm probably going to do water cooling on this system. So now the nice thing about this case is you can do water cooling on it. You can do radiators. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you is the top of the case. So I lifted it up beforehand just because I wanted to make sure I know how it was going to be done. And it's as solid as the rest of it. Okay, it's got your foam padding in here again. And just these little tabs here, that's what holds it in place. Just snaps on, comes off, really easy. And so we'll have a look on the inside now. One of the other things I wanted to mention is the top-mounted radiator. It says it supports dual 360 rads positioned at the top and the bottom area. It's almost possible, but really it's not, as the fittings will be in the way. So it's probably advisable to remove the topmost drive caddy when installing a 360 millimeter radiator at the top. The mounting area at the internal ceiling for the radiator fans are raised slightly, and the total space between the ceiling and the motherboard is 60 millimeters. So since there's no space left between the top panel and the chassis for a standard 25 millimeter thick fan, the 60 millimeter space limits typically options to either only push or pull radiator configurations, and not both, unless there's a special thin high static pressure fan out there somewhere. Your rear radiator can be 140 or 120 millimeter radiator, and in the front you can mount a 360 millimeter or a 280 millimeter radiator in the front to prevent mounting of the drive on the floor area, because there's a spot on the bottom there if you wanted to add a hard drive. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I don't anyhow. It also has support in the front for a 280 or 240 millimeter rad in the front that allows for the use of 2 hard drive caddies to be utilized at the top. And the front intake has 130 millimeter of space available for push-pull radiator configuration. Now 25 millimeters of that is from the intake fan positioned outside the chassis frame, so that still leaves 105 millimeter for a radiator and another set of fans. So I hope that gives you all the radiator information that you're going to need. So having a look on the inside of this case, the thing that you can notice is nice is you got your 2 blue USB 3.0, okay? You got your 2 USB 2.0s, and your cables are all tucked away in here, nice. What's nice about that is no matter whether you take off the top panel or the front panel, it doesn't interfere with those cables, which has always been a concern of mine. And it's protected on the left-hand side here where your power and reset buttons are. So that's a nice feature. I'll just show you that here just real quick. Okay, so just to show you that you got a little bit of protection on there. So, all right, so we're going to move on. So just to show you the top of the case, just to lock it in here so you can see it. So we're just going to come in here a little bit. Now you can see all your openings here, all right, for your fans or your radiator and how you're going to be able to fasten it on. So fastening a radiator in this case is going to be, I think, super easy. And I know another thing that they talked about was, well, if you buy this case and you put a radiator in it, there's no room. There's tons of room, okay? You got room all the way back to here. It's not going to interfere with your case fan at all, at least from what I can tell. Maybe when I go to do it, I'll find out different. But first impressions alone, just by having looked at the case, it certainly doesn't appear to be that way. So opinions will definitely vary. Okay, so having another look at the top of it after I put the cover back on, you can see here you've got your USB 2.0, USB 3.0, and your mic and your headphones. And then over here you've got your power switch and your reset button. So last and almost least is the bottom of your case. So on here you've got your, it just lifts out this way and slides out. You've got your fan for your power supply, so it keeps it all nice and tidy. Now I did notice it goes on a little bit snugly, so I don't know, once you've got your case up and set up, it's going to be a little bit tricky to work with maybe, but I don't know about you, but I don't clean that all that often, so it's probably not as big a deal as it might be. So to get at your side panel, where all your cable management is going to take place, you just undo these two screws, and just pull it back, and it just comes off. Again, the panel is extremely solid. The nice thing about the panel, I notice this is a little bit marked up, but that's not going to affect anything. But you got your nice foam silencing, so it's going to make this case really quiet, and I like that. So we'll move to the back side of the case. You can see one of the nice things it has is it has your Pwm Fan Control. So everything will plug in here. And now one of the things I had to look up, and I actually watched a couple other videos as a matter of fact, is these can all be plugged into one controller on your motherboard, and it will control all your fans from your BIOS. So that's just a really, I've never had that on any case I've had, and I think it's a great feature. You've got little things here for your illumination for your LED in the back, and goes right down here, it goes to your wires. You got your interior cables, they're all nicely tucked away here. And of course you got your box in here with all your, I can get it out. Okay, so there's a twist tie that was around here, way around the hard drive on the bottom. A little trickier than most to get out, but it came out no problem. So here's your box. I'll show you what's inside there in a minute after we do the case review. Okay, so your hard drive cages, okay, they're all in here. I've taken this one out just to show you. Okay, so on here, when you look at your cage, you've got room for your SSDs here. Okay, so you can mount your SSD in here, or you can just go with your 3.5-inch drive, which if you can notice here on the side, I think you can notice this one pretty good. It has the, like a foam there as well to keep vibrations from your hard drive down, and again, to add toward the silence of the case even more. So I think that's a great feature. So one of the things I just want to point out is when you're putting this in, this here, little slots here, if you can see it, goes in these sides. And then this part will set down into the little groove in the back here. So it just goes in like this, line that up, okay, line the bolt up, and then it sets in the bottom. You just have to be a little careful. I'm working that in. And then of course you just tighten your screws again here. And that's all there is to it. So a couple of the things I did read when I was going over the review for this case before I bought it, was people were complaining saying these cables weren't long enough. Well, they most definitely are. So the people that are complaining, I'm not sure what they're, maybe it's a bigger case or something like that, but I mean, it goes all the way from here, it goes down, and at any point you can loosen these off, and it's even bent from this here, it's bent out again, so it gives you that much extra length again. And of course you've got your 3.5, USB 3.0, your HD audio, and all your LED connectors. Okay, it's all wrapped nicely in this little plastic to keep them safe, which I've never seen that on a case before either, but so I think that's a nice thing for NZXT to kind of protect those, because I'm always worried they're going to get in the way, so you just toss them in the way, and that's the end of that. So another thing you notice is there's lots and lots of twist ties. I mean, they're all over the place here. Like there's tons of them. So cable management, I'm expecting on this case is just going to be amazing. Now, again, one thing I did say is it's kind of tight here once you put it on, because even though it seems like you've got the space, you've got that little bit of a 1/4 inch of insulation for your silencing, so that may impact the cable management a little bit. But all these cables are flat. They're completely flat. So as long as you're careful with your cable management, I think it'll go all right. That's just my own opinion, of course. Okay, so what's inside that box? Well, here we go. You got an NZXT logo, if you want to put that somewhere else on your system. You got some, like lots of twist ties, which is probably the most I've seen in any case. You've got your power supply screws for putting actually, no, sorry, that's not power supply, that's case fans. So if you want to put another case fan back, if you needed to for whatever reason. Okay, you got your extra standoffs and, of course, your screws for your motherboard, etc. And over here we've got your how to assemble it, how to disassemble it. Down here has an explanation of all your different screws. So that's it. A couple more details just to go over. So just to refresh, you can have a 120mm fan on the back or a 140. You can have 3 120s on top or 2 140s. And you have 3 included 120mm on the front, or you could have 2 140s. Alright everybody, hope you liked it. That's the end of the video. If you like it, hit that like. If you don't, you know what to do. Subscribe to see more videos like this. Stay tuned for more in the future. Thanks for watching.